Serious, what conspiracy theory do you actually believe is true? Epstein didn't kill himself. His death and the events around it were way too suspicious. 100% agreed. The guards said they cut him down. But the rope wasn't cut. The camera wasn't working. He was murdered to cover up for other elites, and the most shameful thing about it all is they're going to get away with it. Just like the Panama Papers. Very little that was in the Panama Papers was actually illegal. It's really uneducated to say get away with, like the Panama Papers, as if there was vast oceans of crime. It was most important to describe loopholes people are taking to legally get away with tax advantages. Apps track your location, even if you have the permission turned off. Pretty sure this was not only confirmed, but that some of those app companies got sued and fined for it. They probably just have to pay a small fine to keep doing it. That the moon landing, flat earth and other silly conspiracy theories are pushed by organizations like the CIA to discredit conspiracy theories as a whole, so the genuine ones can be brushed off with, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. That there are many companies and governments could easily get a full report on everything about you, and I mean everything. From the basic stuff, like where you live, where you are now, and where you work, but also to your friends, your relationships with them, and a detailed description of your personality. On a TV series about different popular beliefs, they made an episode where they just took the information about a guy they could find online and used it to manipulate him. They got an actor to pretend he was an old friend of the person and that they went to the same school. Only using info they could easily look up online. The info a tech company or a government could get on you is way more detailed. Doctor, tech companies and the government know way more about you than you do. And if they wanted to, they could make you believe anything. That the Australian Prime Minister understands the gravity of the situation with regards to climate change and is buying into the deniers camp for short-term political gain, rather than as a matter of principle. He doesn't want to be the one to close down coal. We shot down United 93 on 9/11. I watched everything unfold live on CNN. And I believe this 100%. There were huge gaps in real-time reporting. What happened to Flight 93? Then during the course of the next 24 hours the official story retrospectively came to light. There was minute-by-minute updates on everything else. But radio silence for hours after the USA scrambled fighter jets to intercept the plane headed for the White House. Everybody wins if you believe the official version of events. But it doesn't match my recollection. There would be gaps if the plane was in the air, not communicating with the outside world. Pretty much the only thing you could have done was look up or track the plane on radar. The rest of it, as with any plane crash, was pieced together afterwards through black box recordings and interviewing relatives on the ground that the passengers managed to contact. Britney Spears is being controlled by the people around her. I don't usually believe in such crazy theories, but there's just something about this one that makes me believe it. She looks and acts like a prisoner, and she's said and done a lot of questionable things. I know it's a crazy one, and I really hope it's not true, but that woman looks so broken. Isn't this proven? To a degree at least. Her father controls all of her funds etc. already. I believe Edward II escaped and went to Italy. He was not laid to rest at his very public funeral. His son, Edward III, had reason to believe his father was alive, and there is some truth to the Fieschi letter. Mostly I think Edward III's relations with the Pope convinced me. I also think the circumstances of the funeral arrangements were pretty suspicious. The variety of deaths Edward II was rumored to die don't exactly convince me he died at Berkeley Castle. Oh, and there's a part of Italy with an oral tradition that they once had an English king for some years. Some celebrities have faked their death and are still out there. I believe that the government knows a lot more about aliens than they care to admit. Not sure if I fully believe in hyper-intelligent beings, but proof of life more than just cells. I feel like the government slowly releases news and research on it because a lot of people already believe it, so a mass panic, except from possibly religious and political extremists, would probably not happen. People are taught wrong information about nutrition on purpose. This is actually true. The food triangle we were all taught in school was mass marketing of wrong information. Oh, come on. That we are in a simulation. This is payback for all the people I've tortured in The Sims. I believe the United States allowed the attack on Pearl Harbor, so they would have a reason to enter World War II. I've heard the theory that the UK knew about the attack on Pearl Harbor and didn't warn the US, so they would get hit and join the Allies against the Axis. That makes a lot more sense than the US letting it happen. That Illuminati exists nowadays, or better yet, that they didn't exist until recently. But then some rich powerful brothers got together and were talking about the conspiracy and were like, wanna start a shadow cabal? My dudes. Apostrophe. The true meaning of the pyramids, their worldwide universal symbolism is, I'm up here, you're down there, go out and make me some money. When it comes to economics, it's pyramid schemes all the way down. I mean, I'd be willing to believe a lot of conspiracies, because by nature they make sense if you assume is, but you have to make assumptions of a lot of unknowns usually. That Premier League referees are against the introduction of technology into football and are purposefully making VAR look bad so people complain. Technology can only ever make the decision more black and white and be a good thing. Sure, there's a bit of teething problems with how long it takes to make a decision and play stoppages, but the rate at which VAR officials are using the technology to make bizarre decisions is ridiculous. It's got all the Muppets out there, including some pretty smart friends / family of mine, up in arms about how VAR doesn't work and is ruining football. VAR works. The people Howlett are using it to make inexplicable decisions are what's not work. Nebraska isn't real. 3. The only conspiracy theory I believe is that the pharma companies already have the cure for AIDS and cancer and other diseases, but won't release them, so they can make a profit from people with those conditions and only the rich have access to them. But I don't believe strongly on that. It's just something I wouldn't be surprised if it came out to be true. The reason that the USA has insanely cheap booze and cigarettes is because what they save in charging customers taxes they can make up in either charging tens of thousands of dollars from hospital fees or assuming they'll die first because they can't afford the fees. Cities will put roadwork crews without any actual roadwork being performed just to increase ticket fines for happening close to the area. The use of the term conspiracy theory itself is a strong show of propaganda indoctrination, a term invented by the CIA to throw off of the trail of actual happenings by labeling you a cook just by doing so. Simple and genius way to play on the simpleton masses. The Twin Towers didn't collapse as a result of planes hitting them on 9/11. They never existed in the first place. There is way more to Pisaga than let on. And I can't even say anything more despite desperately wanting to because I will be harassed into oblivion. That the dead badgers you see on roads haven't been run over, but have been shot and dumped by farmers to stop them infecting their cattle with TB. The only thing I can say against it is that there aren't many cows where I live. The universe will ultimately reset. Everything stems from a single event, that being the Big Bang. Time diverges from there down multiple streams, but the thing that remains consistent even in the weave of infinity is that all life and creation as a whole must stem from a single point of origin. The million-dollar question is, of course, what caused the Big Bang? The theory I've come to accept is that the cause of the Big Bang is the Big Crush itself, perpetuating an endless cycle of quantum life, death and rebirth with each instance derived from the same matter as the former, but delving down fundamentally different paths, including, but not limited to, slight changes, grand changes and entire shifts in the laws of the universe involving gravity, matter and the general functions of would-be well-known molecules, atoms and otherwise. Yes, this includes the idea of a negative reality. Have fun with that. By that logic, we and the entirety of our existence are a single infinitesimal second in an ever-growing explosion fated to perish, just as deftly as we were spat out, and are set to remain as such throughout the whole of eternity. However, because we are derived from the same matter, that begs the question, are we losing matter with every reset, and will there come an expiration to our chances to escape the ongoing cycle, or will it perpetuate itself indefinitely, and the need for escape is null? If we are said matter, will we simply spill out with the rest? If we are losing matter preset, that implies that it's spilling out somewhere, be it a neighboring Big Bang in a larger weave far beyond our mortal scope, or perhaps even the fourth dimension itself, though I somehow doubt we would be that close to it, as it would be too cut and dry. If it is spilling out into alternate regions, that implies that even if we are in said cycle, and that even if we escape said cycle, there is an infinity beyond infinity that escapes the scope of our own universe, and furthermore the whole of what can be assumed to be a void as our senses would simply fail to comprehend it due to the raw magnitude of its sheer existence, as it's basically infinity times infinity. Put plainly, it's so big it would look like an endless white/black void to us, because our minds cannot physically comprehend it. Behind that void I'm completely and utterly clueless. But it bet good money that Crowley died at its doorstep, and yeah, I'd be wise to not follow. I nearly lost it myself trying. If we exist in a reset, or in such a space whatsoever, there's really no point in hoping for anything beyond that, and everything ultimately falls down to the fact that we as an existence take comfort in setting goals as a species and a society that we by default cannot ever attain, but strive for regardless, because the pursuit of our bliss is all we have standing between us and the crushing realization that nothing matters, and the preservation of that veil is something well waged war to keep in place and slander anyone Harlot does tug it, because nobody in their right mind wants that, and any owns host tried has been beaten senseless enough to know trying to get people on board isn't worth it, and rewards and punishment. And TL Doctor, if the theory holds, LDS, nothing matters, and the scope beyond what we know is so sickeningly grand that even attempting to argue that will only ever lead to disappointment and existential dread. Ed, nothing matters, and that's your excuse, or rather your cue to make it matter. Dare. As far as we're concerned, that's all Goddies. It's creation in a void embodied through us and every reality thereafter. Dare. Layman's terms, I think everything will just be gone in the end, so I think just doing what you want is more important than trying to escape that. Like, if we're all going to die, might as well die smiling. If nothing matters, just make up your own meaning. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.